also critically important. And I would like to thank you very much. Thank you for both financial packages you have already provided us with and the ones you may be willing to decide on. Your money is not charity. It's an investment in the global security and democracy that we handle in the most responsible way.
And let's get some more analysis now from William Lawrence. He's a professor of political science at American University and a former US diplomat. He joins me now from Washington, D.C. as well. Now, Zelenskyy made a point of saying that it isn't just a fight between Ukraine and Russia, that this is a global fight and that the funding is a very good investment for the world. Was that a good message for him to send there?
Yeah, I mean, just briefly negatively, that's what Putin's been saying all along. So it feeds into Putin's propaganda messages about how this is really a fight between Russia and NATO and not about Ukraine. But it was incredibly effective for an American audience. If the purpose of Zelensky's trip to Washington was to convince recalcitrant Republicans to continue to fund the war in Ukraine as the House changes hands, and to convince the American public that it's worth the investment, he had a home run. This speech was very, very successful. He hit all the right notes about the American Revolution, about American history. I mean, as one commentator was saying on a U.S. station, this isn't a speech that appeals to 51%. It appeals to 90% of Americans. So in that respect, we can consider it a great success in terms of the American audience.
Now, it's a very symbolic visit so far. Zelenskyy giving Joe Biden a serviceman's medal that he asked the serviceman, the captain, we believe, asked him to take to the US. Zelenskyy also bringing in that Ukrainian flag to hold up. What do you make of just the visit in general and the optics?
Well, I was driving around downtown D.C. near the White House and the Capitol today, and it was amazing to see how many bicycles had huge Ukrainian flags on them, taxi drivers. I mean, there's a lot of Ukraine enthusiasm in Washington, and this pageantry that you mentioned is part of it. That was a flag taken from the front lines only yesterday, handed to Zelenskyy in his visit to the front lines, and we could hear Russian artillery in the background, or Ukrainian artillery, an active battle scene behind him. And then he brings it to the United States, gets the flag that's been flying in Ukraine's honor all day long here, presents the medal. I mean, as far as something like this isn't quite a state visit, but something like a state visit goes, Zelenskyy was hitting all the right notes and got nothing but enthusiastic reception from both U.S. Political parties and others. He did make a reference to Don Trump Jr. in his speech, who's been saying actively in the U.S. media that Ukraine is a charity case looking for handouts. And he addressed that directly in the speech and said, "We're not a charity case. We're fighting for our lives. We're fighting your fight. And please help us as you've been doing."
And how do you think that this united front might be seen in Moscow?
I'm sure. I think the main thing is weapons. And as I mentioned on your air earlier today, all of the weapons he's asked for, he's gotten, except the types of long-range missiles that can strike Russian territory. And Putin's been warning all along, if they get the Patriot missile defense and other missile defenses, that's an escalation. That's why a few months ago, everyone was talking about the chance of nuclear war and other things, although we know that Putin's got a dressing down from his Chinese counterparts and others about the nuclear warfare. Certainly Erdogan, who talks to the Russian leadership, would be advocating strongly against that, and everyone else who talks to the Russians. But Putin's been making threats. I think really in the end, if we get to a point where Putin has lost enough that he doesn't think he can do any better with the configuration that's there, we'll be closer to an end of this war if Putin can also save face in some way. However, now people in Washington are talking about the retaking of Crimea. I don't think it'll happen. It could take years, if not months. But the front foot now is Ukraine. How far they'll go remains to be seen.
Okay, thank you so much for your analysis there. That's William Lawrence in Washington, D.C.